Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to my channel where I talk about how to heal chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue by healing old emotional wounds and trauma from our early life. Because that is how I heal these illnesses, and I'm still continuing to heal remnants of them. Now, today I'm going to talk about why mindfulness is so hard. Okay, can you relate to this? Can you relate to how difficult mindfulness is? Do you find this? Do you find that mindfulness is extremely difficult? Why is this? I will tell you why. The short answer is it's trauma. It is your past haunting you. You know, we all hear about how good mindfulness is for us and that we should be doing it. It's sort of part of the recipe for happiness and fulfillment in life, right? We hear this from all kinds of teachers in the internet space that mindfulness is key to happiness and fulfillment and joy and contentment in our lives. Well, first of all, what is mindfulness? It's this ability to stay in the present moment and really truly experience the present moment for what it is. And experience your senses, experience the moment to moment, truly be immersed in the present moment and not going to the past or to the future in your mind. Just staying in that present moment and enjoying it, or just, dealing with whatever it is right then, and enjoying it. It sounds so simple, doesn't it? It always has to me. I mean, I think it does to everybody. It sounds so simple. And yet, when we try to implement that in our lives, we can't do it. We have to keep reminding ourselves for eternity sometimes, if you don't deal with the reason that mindfulness is not possible at the moment. So we can get into these patterns of wanting to remind ourselves again and again and again to be present, to be in the present moment. Okay, you bring yourself back to the present moment. And we can get into habits of shaming ourselves and berating ourselves for not being in the present moment, for living in the past, for living in the future, for always worrying, having these patterns of worrying about the future or ruminating on the past. We get into these patterns, right? Well, why do we get into these patterns? And why is it so hard for us to stay in the present moment? I will tell you the reason that it is so hard. It's trauma. It is trauma. Trauma that is embedded in your body. And no matter how much you try to change your mind to be in the present moment and to experience the present moment and to stay in the present moment, it's never going to work as long as you have trauma embedded in your body that needs to heal, that's ready to heal. And trauma has this way of nagging at us that it's ready to heal. And one of the ways it does that is by pulling us into the past, where we can get really depressed, or pulling us into the future where it's running. It's like escape, it's worry about the future. I don't know what my future is going to be like, and I'm worried and I'm scared and I'm running to save myself. So we can become really depressed if our mind pulls us into the past and keeps us in the past. And we can get very anxious if the mind pulls us to the future and what's going to happen next. And we just don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm constantly worrying about the next steps in your life. I mean, can you relate to this? Oh my gosh. It's the story of my life before this illness, before starting to heal this illness by healing trauma. But what I can tell you is that as you heal your trauma, the more trauma that you heal, the more you are able to stay in the present moment. I've been amazed. I will have these bouts where I'm just content. I feel at peace in my body, in my inner peace. This sense of inner peace, it's what we're all sort of going for, isn't it? Don't we all want to feel inner peace? And yet that's so hard. Well, some people will say the answer is to just be in the present moment. The problem is you cannot be in the present moment. You can momentarily be there, and as soon as you lose your conscious attention to it, you will go back to the past or the future. Because your brain, it's a defense from your brain to keep you out of that pain. Because your body is in pain. As long as your body has trauma embedded in it from your early life, you are in chronic pain. Whether that's physical, whether it manifests as a physical ailment, symptom, or illness like chronic fatigue or adrenal fatigue, or it becomes psychological symptoms. You get like depression and anxiety and just patterns of discontent and just feeling discontent, always discontent, feeling disconnected, feeling discontent but never knowing why. That is a symptom of past trauma that needs to be healed. So there are a couple of there are actually many symptoms of having trauma. There are many signs, but I'm just going to talk about a few of the main ones that I think about a lot and have been really present for me. So one of the signs is what I'm talking about. An inability to stay in the present moment. An inability to be present. Have you ever had experiences where you're in this joyous moment that's supposed to be joyous, that's supposed to be wonderful, and you just can't experience it fully? You become aware that you're just not all there. Even when you try to be, you're not all there. There's something not quite right. You feel this discontent, and I've had this happen to me so many times, and as I've healed this stuff, I've become more and more conscious of it. Like if I go on some wonderful trip with my boyfriend, and I'm having these wonderful experiences, and yet I'm having this weird experience where I'm not all there, and that these moods come up in me when I'm having a wonderful time, and I don't even know where the mood came from. There's something in there that's conflicting with my ability to enjoy this beautiful moment. You know, you're standing at the top of a mountain overlooking this gorgeous vista, and there's something in me that can't take it all in. Or just this week-long trip, and I just keep having this recurring feeling of that I'm having this wonderful time, and yet I have this recurring feeling of discontent. You know, in our regular lives, it's easy to find reasons why we're discontent. Our minds have to make sense of the fact that we're not content, that we're in unease, dis-ease. We're not in a state of satisfaction and content. And it's easy to find reasons why not. I'm unhappy with my job, I'm this, I'm that, this person is driving me crazy, I can't get through to this person, I can't get through to this company to fix this problem that I have. Whatever it is that's nagging at you that day, we can make sense of, okay, well, that's why I'm discontent right now, and this is why I'm discontent now, and this is why I'm discontent right now. What if the real reason that we're discontent in those moments is actually past trauma and wounds that is just haunting us and creating this incessant feeling of discontent and unhappiness? Well, when you go on a trip and it's a beautiful trip and and things are not really going wrong, everything is wonderful, the food is wonderful, the place is wonderful, the people are wonderful, the views are wonderful, the person you're with is wonderful, everything is wonderful, and yet you still have this nagging feeling of discontent, dissatisfaction. This is one of the signs that started pointing to me that this was a thing. Because I've racked my brain for a couple years. I was racking my brain as to why can't I be fully present in this place with this beautiful person that I love, in this beautiful experience. What is going on? And I tried to make all kinds of logical reasons why that was. And this is true in the rest of my life too. I eventually realized, because I started having these bouts of contentment when a wound was not trying to come up, when I had healed a wound and I was getting a rest period, this sensation of inner peace, it started to give me clarity on this phenomenon, that our inability to feel contentment, our inability to feel satisfied and fulfilled, full and heart-centered and fully present, is the presence of trauma and wounds. A second sign that you have trauma that needs to heal, that your body wants you to heal, that I sort of alluded to a minute ago, is moodiness. That cannot be explained fully by your current circumstance. So I talked a little bit about that. When you're having a really nice experience and yet you have these moods, or something happens in your life and your mood shifts in a really extreme way, more so than the event calls for. I'll give a silly example. For example, one thing that I find very triggering is assembly. Putting together something, I get enraged. I want to blame everything. I want to blame everybody else. I want to blame the company that made the thing. I want to blame the person who wrote the instructions. I want to blame everybody else except what's going on with my body. Except look at the fact that maybe I have a wound or a trauma that is being triggered right now. That took a long time for me to figure out. Or I used to have a pattern, and if I'm triggered, this still happens to me. If I drop something or I run into something or something is not working as it's supposed to in this moment, I'll become enraged. And that is an exaggerated response to what's happening. I drop something on the floor and I want to put my fist through the wall. I mean, that is not an appropriate response to what is happening in that moment. So those are a couple examples, but there can be more complicated examples in relationship dynamics. Anytime there is a larger emotional response than the event grants or warrants, or you just generally have moods. You're just moody. You're moody a lot. Your moods sort of ebb and flow in a way that you can't explain. Or you get triggered by something and your mood spirals into and plummets into an abyss, and you land in some horrible emotional state, and you're like, what the heck just happened? Where am I? What happened? Why was that so upsetting? That is another sign of trauma. That you have trauma and you have wounds from your early life that need to heal. If I start doing something that is triggering to me, for example, pretend play is very triggering for me. Pretend play with my son. And I love playing with my son because I love my son. I adore my son. He's the most wonderful boy I could ever imagine. And it's such a gift to my life. Unfortunately, I've had this very painful experience of every time I engage in pretend play, this inner turmoil starts up in my body, and my mind wants to escape. I want to distract myself. I want to think about something in the future. I want to plan. I want to problem solve something. I want to reach for my phone and read something. I want to check my phone, just check the weather, check my text messages, whatever it is. I have this yearning to pull myself out of the present moment. And so that's a third sign. That is the third sign of having trauma and wounds, is that when you have moments of quiet, moments of being in the present, moments when you're called to really be present in the present moment, and kids do this. If you have kids, you know that being present is the best way to parent. That's how you parent. It's about being present with your child. And being present with your child means being present with yourself. And if you have trauma or wounds, that's going to be really painful and difficult to be present with yourself, present in your body. So a sign that you have trauma or wounds that need to heal is this wanting to escape, wanting to reach for the things that we find soothing, these sort of addictive tendencies, whether it's an addiction or a pull to your phone or food or, I don't know, shopping or Netflix or whatever it is that is going to distract your mind. That pull, yes, some of it is just habit, but some of it, if you really can't break that habit, if you've been trying to break a habit and you can't break it, it might be because it is the protection against feeling that old pain, that old trauma. And the irony is that's exactly what you need to do, is feel that pain, feel that trauma, feel that pain, feel the wound, feel the pain of the inner child, love and accept that pain into your body as part of you and love yourself through it. That's how you heal it. But our defenses, that's not what we want to do. Our defenses have been trained to protect ourselves from that because we developed that as a child when it was too much for us to handle. And now as adults, we still have that patterning of distract, disconnect. And so we have all these signs and ways of disconnecting that we actually do have trauma and wounds underneath us in our bodies that are stuck and want to get out. Okay, another sign that you have trauma or wounds is that you have a physical ailment, a chronic physical illness, a chronic physical ailment. This very well might be caused by past wounds and trauma. Because when past wounds and trauma get embedded in the body, it gets embedded in your bioenergetic field, which has impacts on your chakras and your meridians, your energetic meridians. That's your energetic body. Those three parts are your energetic body. Your energetic meridians, your chakras, the 7 chakras that go down the midline of your body, and your bioenergetic field that goes around, that surrounds your body. That's your energetic system. When you have trauma and wounds that are embedded in your biofield outside of your body, that whole system gets disrupted and you get changes in your meridians, blocks, stagnation in your meridians and your chakras. When your meridians get stagnated and blocks, the communication does not travel through your body properly. And when you have blocks and distortion in your chakras, the organs in those areas start slowing and not properly functioning, not working properly, not working smoothly. Things start slowing down, things stop working, things don't produce in the same quantities as normal. Things get imbalanced. And those are the things that eventually, over time, it causes cellular changes down to the cellular level. It causes cellular changes that create disease in the body and symptoms in the body. Even if you don't have a disease or a disorder, you might have chronic symptoms. And that's a place, anywhere you have chronic pain or chronic symptoms is a place in your body where energy is not flowing. Energy is blocked and distorted. It's not flowing properly through your body. And one cause of energetic distortion, energetic blocks, is trauma and wounds from our past. So having a chronic illness, having chronic symptoms is a symptom of trauma and wounds. Okay, so how can we use this in our healing process when we have symptoms come up, when we have symptoms worsen, when we get worse, when we get more exhausted, when we get more pain, when our adrenals rev up? Now that we know this, we can realize that is the past, that is the past coming up. Anytime we are unable to be happy and content in our bodies, it's the past haunting you. Well, then you might want to say, and I understand this, how can I be happy and content in my body when I have chronic symptoms and illness? And I so understand, it's so true. But the thing is, that actually is a manifestation of this. The emotions and experience that we view as being caused by the illness are actually the emotions and experiences that have caused the illness. And that can be a very tricky concept to wrap your head around at first, but it has to do with the law of attraction. And the things that we believe, the things that are embedded in our biofield And the things that we are blocking, the things that we're trying to block because of the wounds, end up being the thing that we attract. So believing that I am not safe in my body, for example, an unconscious belief that I am not safe in my body, could eventually manifest as you actually not being safe in your body through an illness. So what is a common experience and an emotional experience that we have from having a chronic illness? We don't feel safe in our body anymore. And we can tell and what our logical mind will tell us, I don't feel safe in my body anymore because I developed this illness. The crazy thing is, we developed the illness because we don't feel safe in our body. We don't feel safe. We have root chakra wounds that need to heal. And when we heal them, crazily enough, we become safe in our body, both emotionally and physically. That aspect of the illness begins to heal. So this is true for even emotional responses. So if you experience a time in your life when you're like, things are going okay, even if you don't have symptoms worsening or coming up, or if your illness is not bad right then, and you still feel discontent and disconnected and like just not content in your body, if you still have trouble, if you're having trouble any moment in your life when you are having trouble being in the present moment, I can almost guarantee you it's your past haunting you. I find this so helpful because I think most importantly, because it helps me bring compassion to myself, for myself, to my inner child. So when I have these experiences over and over and over and over and over again, when I'm just discontent, I'm like, what's wrong? Like, I'm depressed. I'm really sad today. I'm really tired today. Or I'm like, I just can't feel good today. I'm not in a good place today. What is that? It helps me so much to become aware, oh, this is the past. Past stuff is coming up right now. There's something in my past that's needing to come up, needing to be seen and loved by me. Now that doesn't mean that's an easy thing to do, but you can use tools like havening that I have made a video about, that I'll put a link to in the description below. You can use havening to try to get at and start working at, what could this be? What could this be? And instead of shaming ourselves about, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I can't do it. I just like everything else. I can't stay in the present moment. No matter how hard I try, I fail. I just fail at everything. That kind of stuff, it used to be such a prominent pattern for me. I don't know about for you, but knowing this information, that anytime you feel this inner discontent, whether it's physical or emotional, it's your past speaking to you. You cannot live in the present moment fully until you heal your past. I so adamantly believe this. And the more you heal your trauma, the more you will find you are able to live in the present moment and be joyful and content and fulfilled. Feel fulfilled in the present moment, no matter what's going on. And you will find that as you heal trauma, it will be easier and easier to change the things that are just habits. You know, we all developed habits to look at our phone or distract ourselves. But once we become conscious of that and try to shift it, if we find again and again and again and again we're trying to fix it and it's not working, and we still crave it, we need it, we feel like this really like visceral need to do it, then there's something that needs to heal there. Your mind is trying to distract you from some painful emotion. But that painful emotion needs to be felt, needs to be seen, felt, and loved, and accepted, and allowed to be in your body while you still love that part of yourself. You still love your inner child no matter what she is, whether she's ashamed, embarrassed, blocked, whatever she is, she's allowed to be that way, and you love her still. That's what that energy actually needs, and that's what's going to allow you to move closer and closer and closer to your ability to be present and be mindful in your life, which is one of the keys to being happy and joyful and fulfilled in our lives. And there are tons of studies on this. There are tons of studies validating this, that mindfulness is such an important practice if we want happiness and contentment in our lives. But I believe the way to get there is by healing the old wounds, so that the past is not clinging to us. It's just like pulling us all the time in some way, whether it's pulling us to the past or pulling us to the future. It's still our past. The past is making you go one or two directions, and your mind is deciding which way it wants to go based on our patterning, but it's taking you out of the present moment. It's just dragging you, pulling you. And if we release, if we heal those things that are pulling us out of ourselves, we can be in ourselves in content. Inner peace is the most amazing feeling, and I never had felt it my whole life until healing trauma. And it still is elusive for me so many days, because I still have a lot to heal. But at this point, I've healed enough to heal my illnesses most days. And so I'm more and more able to do this. And you too. You may already be feeling this if you're already healing your trauma, or you have this to come. If you're just starting healing your trauma, this is what's coming for you. This feeling of inner peace that you may or may not have ever felt in your whole life. And it's amazing. And you can do it. Every time you heal a piece of your old trauma, old wounding, you will get closer to that experience of inner peace. And you'll be able to feel it a little bit more. So let me know in the comments what you think of that. What your experience of this has been. Your experience with mindfulness and your experience with healing trauma related to that. If you would like to work one-on-one with me, because healing trauma is, I truly believe we can heal trauma and wounds, old wounds, by ourselves, and we don't need anybody else to do it. But the truth is, it can really be helpful, so helpful to have another person somebody who has gone through it and is always thinking about this stuff like me, that is sort of obsessed by this stuff like I am, who has gone through it or is still going through it, but has a lot of experience in it, to bounce ideas off of, and talk through the issue, talk through whatever you're experiencing in that moment, and be an emotional support. So if you're interested in working one-on-one with me, I'm gonna put I have my information down below to contact me. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. If it resonated with you, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell for notifications if you want more content. Share the video online if you think this content would be helpful for anybody else in your life. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care. Bye.